Hello. Is this the full effect? If I'm going to read my stories that I wrote and read them in my house because God told me to, I'm going to wear whatever I want over my nightgown. I know. They're so heavy, though, they may fall off my earlobes because I haven't worn them probably in 2 decades. Of course, these are my hospice hard glasses. Let me get the business out of the way. Hello. Oh, hello. Do I look better? Oh, hello. Mrs. Doubtfire. Oh, hello. Anyway, yes, for those of you who want to read Committed to Love on the Mintz streaming network for free, you can, hi, Lisa. Hi, honey. So you can go to now SusanMintz.com, the books page, and where all the little red highlights are under Committed to Love, it'll say Susan Reads Committed to Love. It's up. But you know in the movie when they say in the movies if you buy it, you get all the trailers, you get the extras. No, you don't have to buy it. I'd love you to buy my books, but you don't have to. You're getting all the extras that I talked about. You get the book and you get all my personal comments, which I think are worth more than anything because I'm teaching you. So that business is out of the way. And on YouTube. So it'll be dated. I stopped on the 27th before Memorial Day. So it'll go 27, 6, May, all the way down through April 3rd on both my website and YouTube channel. And then when I'm done with my hospice stories, you can download all those too and watch. You can binge watch on a couple of rainy days. You can binge watch if you want to smoke your joints and drink your bottles of vodka and beer, whatever you want to do. You can binge read my stories. Hello, all. Well, this chapter for sure is going to hit many of you because it's about breast cancer. Tissues. Did I get that point across that my book is completely downloaded now, uploaded and downloaded, whatever she does, on YouTube and under the books page on Susan Reads Committed to Love. They're there. And then when the Hospice Heart one is done, it'll be under the Hospice Heart. It'll say, you can get them in Amazon or Barnes & Noble. It'll say that. But also you'll be able to see and read interviews, all that on the books page. And then with Hospice Heart, we'll do it again. So this one is about breast cancer. And I know it's going to hit harder for a lot of you. I've been through, with several friends, I have been through their breast cancer treatments. And it was an honor to be asked to go with them, to be with them, and for a year at a time to go through all their protocols. So for everyone who knows someone, been there, done that, share. Share my stories. The greatest thing you're doing right now for me, you're sharing. And I know you're sharing because I can't even get to the new people enough to be able to say, thank you, new people. That's it. Story time. A little bit of Jeff and myself will be in the beginning of this story. And then a little bit will be at the end. And by the way, if you didn't know it, it's the first day of summer. Absolutely. So, first day of summer, go out and enjoy yourselves while you can. A little bit of Jeff and myself in the beginning of chapter 13, Tuesday, June 21st. Chapter 13. A little bit about myself in the beginning with Jeff, and then there'll be a little bit at the end. As all my stories, Jeff and I are in every story, whether it's only about me and it's only about us and Committed to Love, or we're in these other people's lives. So chapter 13 is how a breast cancer survivor for 15 years was able to focus on the present and enjoy every day that she had left. How's that? How a breast cancer, and remember, this is in 1999. So look at the treatments that have come along since then, the medications. And I mean, 25 years later, just think about the advances made. But when you hear that type of a diagnosis, you'll never forget the day when you are diagnosed with something that possibly is life-threatening or terminal. You will never, ever forget that. You might forget your birthday or your anniversary or other. You're not going to forget that. How a breast cancer survivor for 15 years was able to focus on the present and enjoy every day that she had left. Quote, each day is a gift. That's why it is called a present, end quote. And it's true, that's why it's called a present. Hi, David. Nice to have you back, too. Quote, each day is a gift. That's why it's called a present, end quote. I'm going to continue reading through this whole thing because it's a big chapter. June 1999. Dear Jeff, you were a wonderful caregiver. That's one of the reasons why I miss you so much. You never failed. This is 5 years after he's gone. You never failed to be there for me. Now when I don't feel well or I think there is something wrong, I wish you were here. I depended upon you and I trusted you. I've had some medical problems since you passed away, but nothing has been critical or long-term in nature. Facing my health concerns alone has been a difficult challenge, but it has helped me to gain strength and confidence in myself. My greatest fear remains that if I am ever told that I have a life-threatening illness, I will have to face it alone. If the doctor said to me, quote, I have some bad news, your test results are back, and you have a life-threatening illness, end quote, how would I handle this information? What would I do after the numbing shock had worn off and the cruel reality of this nightmarish time had begun? Could I accept this information? Would I deny my doctor's words, desperately trying to convince myself that this couldn't be happening to me? As my uncertain and frightening future unfolded, would I ever know another moment's peace? How would I begin to take charge of my life? And how would I get my emotional self back on track? Would I question the doctor, hoping that his diagnosis was incorrect? Would I get a second opinion, a third, or a fourth? What would the treatments involve? What would my alternatives be? Did I catch it in time, or was it too late? How long did I have? Would I think that this was the end, and that I would see my life passing before my eyes? Are you all asking yourselves these questions? Have you known mothers and fathers and daughters and sons and cousins who have asked themselves every one of these questions? Who would I tell, and whom would I count on? If the treatments worked and my disease went into remission, would I continue to think that I was going to die? Even if I felt well, would I be able to put the disease and these frightening thoughts out of my mind? How and where would I get the strength to go on? These are some of the difficult and powerful questions I would have to ask myself if I were told that I had a life-threatening illness. I knew that you, Jeff, were playing Russian roulette with your health. I think that a part of you thought that you would never get AIDS, while another part lived each day knowing that you would. Since most of the men you were promiscuous with had died, how could you possibly escape the HIV virus and not develop AIDS? When our doctor came to the house on June 19th, 1992, and told us that you had PCP, the pneumonia associated with AIDS, his words hit us like a freight train. June 19th, 1992. This time in 1992, I was in the hospital watching my husband fight for his life. Now, almost 30 years later, I'm reading my stories to you and other people's stories. What a blessing. And you don't know where life's going to go. Our intellectual self told us that we were informed and prepared in case you became ill. But our emotional side was not ready to hear this dreaded diagnosis. You were already critically ill, and you didn't have many options available. Drugs were limited, and the treatments were even fewer. Much of the data was speculation and unproven because patients didn't live long enough for conclusive studies to be evaluated. Though the outlook for managing HIV and AIDS has improved, and it has, there is still no vaccine or cure. And that's what I said. Oh no, it's different. It is different now. The medications will keep you undetectable, untransmissible. They have side effects, and they're expensive. So there's, but it's different now. We're talking about the early 90s, the 80s and 90s. Hi, Wendy. Though the outlook for managing HIV and AIDS has improved, there is still no vaccine or cure today. That just bothers me terribly. You might have lived longer and had a better quality of life if you contracted the disease today. But the road ahead of you would still be long and difficult, possibly. You went through difficult medical procedures, uncomfortable treatments. Oh yeah, well, here we're dealing with Jeff now. You went through difficult medical procedures, uncomfortable treatments, and took multiple medications with harmful side effects. You tried conventional and unconventional therapies, including relaxation techniques, homeopathy, acupuncture, and juicing. You tried to remain positive, hopeful, doing whatever you could to stay optimistic. We continued to travel, to be with family and friends, and maintained as much stability and normalcy in our lives as possible. But the dark cloud of this horrific disease loomed over our heads every day. The slightest symptom was a terrible reminder of the seriousness of this disease. Your illness was on your mind and in your body every minute of every day for 2 years. Here's the story. Last night at the care center, I met a woman who showed great strength and courage as she brought up many of the same issues that you had to deal with when you were ill. Remember, I said now, for those of you who do have the book, we're on chapter 13, and it's about a breast cancer survivor. It's June 1999. Last night at the care center, I met a woman who showed great strength and courage as she brought up many of the same issues that you had to deal with when you were ill. She told me how she was able to survive a long-term life-threatening illness for 15 years. She spoke about her fears and her expectations and explained how she was able to put the disease out of her mind. How did she keep such a positive attitude, living with the disease for so long? This is wonderful. I'm enjoying my stories. I'm so glad I haven't read them before. But I see the people now. That's what's so cool about this. I see every one of these people I wrote about. I see them as if it's right now, and this is 20 some odd years ago. I can see them. I see her in the bed. When I entered the room, she was propped up against several pillows. She was a large woman. When I say someone's large, they're large. And her body took up the entire hospital bed. Her massive appearance was not what I usually saw at the center. There were pictures everywhere. They were on the walls, the tables, taped to the headboard, and on the food tray. I said, "Hello, my name is Susan. I'm a volunteer. May I may I get you another picture frame?" How appropriate. I said, hello, my name is Susan. I'm a volunteer. May I get you another picture frame? She laughed. No, thank you, she said. There's no more room. Would you please inform my nurse that I'm ready for my pain medication? I am feeling very agitated. She didn't ask me to get her nurse. She didn't ask me to get her nurse. She announced it. She was eloquent, articulate, and had a sophisticated air about her. I said, I'll go and get your nurse. I told her nurse that she needed her assistance and went back to the room. I asked her if she would like some company. You'd think I was really bored with my life, and I asked everybody I met, would you like some company? I think today I'm still doing the same thing. I said, hi, my name is Susan. Would you like some company? So I asked her if she would like some company, and she said, if they ever bring me my anxiety pill, I'll be happy to chat. I get so damn anxious. My brain is telling me that I am doing fine, but I can't seem to convince my nerves. A part of me is accepting while the other part is in denial. It is denial part that wants the drugs. See, all these issues, Committed to Love, my book, every one of them. She laughed at herself, and so she said, a part of me is accepting while the other part is in denial. It is denial part that wants the drugs. She laughed at herself, and her sense of humor made me feel comfortable. I pulled up a chair and said, you speak beautifully. You're an English teacher, aren't you? Very prophetic. Yes, she said. I've loved teaching for 30 years. How would I know she was an English teacher? She was articulate. She was used to speaking to people. She didn't fill it with a lot of extra words that didn't make any sense or weren't necessary. She was articulate. Yes, she said, I've loved teaching for 30 years. My family and students have been encouraging and totally supportive. But I'm tired now, and it's time to take my retirement. I lived with this damn disease for 15 years, and I never quit fighting. Everything happened so unexpectedly. I was taking a shower when I found the lump in my right breast. I was 40 years old. I knew it was cancer. I turned off the water and stood there. My heart stopped. I felt absolute fear and panic for the first time in my life. I sat down on the shower floor and cried. I totally lost control. I can't remember how long I sat there. Finally, I got out of the shower and looked at my breasts. Of course, there was nothing to see. My first reaction was that it was my imagination. They looked normal, but I felt my breast again, and the lump was there. I called my doctor and made an appointment. My doctor felt the lump and scheduled me for an ultrasound and biopsy. The results came back as I'd expected. The mass was small and malignant. My doctor suggested that I have a mastectomy. Pardon me. The doctor suggested that I have a mastectomy. Within 1 month, my world had collapsed. I changed from a happy, fun-loving, career-oriented human being to a paranoid, shocked, disbelieving basket case. Those are enough adjectives to describe where she was coming from then. The doctor removed my right breast and was confident that radiation and chemotherapy treatments would be successful. They said my prognosis for a full recovery was good. I went through the treatments with some discomfort, but it wasn't as difficult as I had anticipated. I lost most of my hair, but I bought some great wigs. Boy, could I relate to that lady today. Yeah, I got a lot of them too. She said, I lost most of my hair, but I bought some great wigs. My students liked the fact that I looked different, quote, different, a few times a week. Everyone was so wonderful. Everyone was so wonderful. 4 months later, I was healthy, cancer-free, and felt great. Other than the physical reminder of my ordeal, I knew that I was fine. I wasn't going to waste one precious moment dwelling on something that might never happen again. I did what the doctors told me to do, but I wouldn't let this disease control my life. Hi, Sharon. She said, I did everything the doctors told me to do, but I wouldn't let this disease control my life. I went back to teaching, traveling, and playing poker. Yes, I love poker, and I can play poker with one breast. She was great. She's like, imagine I can play poker with one breast. 5 years later, and she's telling me all this. I mean, people would pour their hearts out, and I'd sit there, listen. Little did I know that years later I'd be writing their stories up. 5 years later, I was experiencing back pain and had a difficult time walking. The test revealed that my cancer had reoccurred in my spine. Surgery was not an option. I chose to have chemotherapy and radiation treatments again. After 6 months, my cancer went into remission. Maybe it was the poker player in me, but I knew the game wasn't over yet. This might sound simplistic, but I was more afraid to be afraid than to be strong and deal with it. Oh boy, did I say that a lot. This might sound simplistic, but I was more afraid to be afraid than to be strong and deal with it. I've never been, quote, a victim, and I despise the word. None of you out there are victims. You get that out of your brain. No. Even if you've been robbed, there's something. You are not a victim. You're a fighter and a warrior. I had to get that one out. Where am I here? All right, she said, good. I've never been, quote, a victim, and I despise the word. Me too. I went another 10 years without a problem. I focused on life and lived it. It was a great time for me. I took summers off and traveled. One morning, I woke up and couldn't move my legs. The pain was excruciating. The cancer had spread into my bones and spine. I'd done a great job of putting this off for 15 years, but I knew now my time had come. I said to her, how did you manage to put it out of your mind all these years? She said, it wasn't easy. I did everything imaginable, from the conventional treatments to the alternative ones. I tried hypnotism, acupuncture, relaxation techniques, vitamins, exercise, and crystals. I thought that the negative energy from worrying would be more harmful than the disease. I put my faith in the doctors, the medications, my family and friends. I continued to do the things that made me feel good, and I stayed around positive people. Life is not like playing poker. You have to know when to play your hand. Life is like, oh, here we go. Life is a lot like playing poker. Well, you card players out there, listen to this. Life is a lot like playing poker. You have to know when to play your hand, when to bluff, and when to fold. Now it's time for me to fold. I said, you are incredible. I can't imagine facing anything like this. With as much courage and strength as you have shown, I would have loved you as a teacher. Good night. And I would have loved you for a teacher. Good night. She was exceptional in the way that she handled her life and managed the disease. She wanted to continue to enjoy the things she'd always known and to call the shots for as long as she could. She didn't have any regrets, made her own choices, and never felt sorry for herself. She reminded me so much of you, Jeff. You both trusted in the same things and did everything that you possibly could to survive. You cherished every day, never gave up on life, and didn't have any regrets. You never let your illness control your life. The disease lived with you every day, but you lived with the disease also. When the time comes that I have to face my own mortality, I hope that I will have the same strength. Oh, we lost it for a moment. The disease lived with you every day, but you live with the disease also. When the time comes that I have to face my own mortality, I hope that I will have the same strength and extraordinary courage that both of you have shown. I'll say so long for a little while. I love you, Susan. Well, now there was a slight interruption. Perhaps, because I was reading this story, perhaps Jeffrey and this lady were interrupting and saying, we are here in the spirit. How to look at everything positively. And it said, trying to reconnect, which I thought would be devastating and take forever. It took a split second. So I think maybe Jeffrey and this woman were trying to communicate with me in the spirit. I receive it. When I have said, I called myself yesterday the sister of sadness and sorrow and the deaconess of the dying. I make jokes. I'm not joking about the stories or the people. But God, I have to lighten up this stuff. These books are, yes, about loss and love, but they're about hope and faith and courage and strength and surviving and fighting. These stories, if you listen to people long enough who are going through challenges, big-time challenges, life-threatening, life-altering challenges, just listen. There's a time to talk, and there's a time to listen. I listened when I was at hospice. I listened. Listen to your children. Another thing is listen to what your children, what the kids are dealing with and going through and what we're dealing with in life. For me also, listen. Don't ask so many questions and talk so much. Listen. Let people meet you where they are. That's so important. You can't meet someone where they've been. You can't make memories out of your past with someone new. You can make new memories. But listen, if there's one thing I'm trying to give myself, it's to listen more and talk less. I would not be a good poker player, except I did. I loved cards for a while, and I was good. Because just like I can tell stories and make them up even, I can make stories up. I'm really good at fabricating stories. I was a good poker player because nobody could read me. I'd stare straight at someone, make a little smirk, wink. Nobody kind of knew. And I even made some money. But those card playing days are over because with the card playing came alcohol and smoking. So you can tell I was much younger. I don't do either. But when I played cards, I smoked and I drank. Let the truth be told. God bless you all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening and not interrupting me. My late sister, I had one sister and we weren't close. It was totally the opposite. She never understood me. So when I got volunteered at hospice, she said it was perfect for me. And she did. She's one of the few times she ever gave me a compliment. And she said, oh, sister, she said, hospice is perfect for you, especially when they're nearing the very end and they can't get up out of the bed and talk. I thought, well, kind of that's true. When you're at the very end, you kind of can't get up and leave the room or talk. And she kind of really meant it, and so did I. I was good at the end. I could sit with people and listen, but then at the end, no one had to pass alone. I could stay there till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when everybody was gone other than the nursing staff. I would stay with someone because I know it was it. And I could watch them take their last breath. And I would go get the nurse and I would say, I think the person has passed. And they had. I didn't do anything. I just didn't want anybody to ever die alone. So I shall say on that happy note to all of you, thank you. I know. You'll get me the earrings. I know I'll get compliments and the glasses. A bit much, but as I said, if it's my house, these are my stories and I'm reading them, I can wear anything I want over my nightgown. I love you all. Shalom. Hello. And shalom goodbye and shalom peace. Be kind. Be patient. Call someone and tell them you care. And as I said to all of you, one of you is going to connect me to the really big dot. The person with the brand name who sees my book as a major, major movie or series, and these stories equally as good. And I'll keep reading them until that happens, because I know one serious major interview, big time interview, I don't need a lot of time. You can give me 2 minutes. I promise you I can get this information out. There'll be a movie deal. My stories were made for series streaming services. They were made for today. They wouldn't have even worked on 3 or 4 part. The series we used to have a while ago, you had these kind of series when you only had a couple of channels. People ran to watch these series. But now, with streaming and the internet, it's my time and I know it's going to happen. Also, you still haven't found me one other person who's reading their stories on Facebook. My mantra should be 529. All right, that's it for today. Chapter 14 tomorrow. Oh, I should not get too close to my phone. Yesterday I was reading a lot up there on my phone. I was cutting half my head off. What is the daughter questions your fears? Oh, I'm not going to tell you. That would ruin it. God bless you all. Thank you so much for spending half an hour with me, whether it's today or tomorrow. And remember, my story is totally now uploaded on my website and YouTube channels. But on website, just go to the books icon, click on books. You'll read about them. And underneath, there's about 6 little red highlights. The last one will say, Susan Reads, Committed to Love. I am allowing you all to read my book at no charge. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thank you.